Your chances of winning the Powerball in the United States on average is a 1 in 296 million. If you don't know what the Powerball is, it's just basically the biggest lottery that we have. And what we're talking about today is about player experiences within OSRS and how those player experiences will differ based on a new game mode coming in 2026. So when I tell you that the chances of your player experience being the same as somebody else's being a 1 in 296 million, imagine that number and how vast that is, and now times it by 2,000. And I don't mean that these player experiences are going to be slightly different from one another. They will be vastly different from one another. I'm a big proponent of saving viewers time if they're not interested in topics that I'm talking about, and today I'm talking about the biggest RuneLite game mode plugin that is coming in 2026, made by yours truly and a close friend of mine. Today we're going to be talking about the multifacets of this game mode, what you're going to need, how it's going to play, and most importantly, what you can do to make it better, because overall this is a community-made game mode. I know that a lot of you aren't really interested in niche game modes and whatnot, but for anyone who's still sticking around, I greatly appreciate you, and I would love suggestions from you to make this better. So what is this game mode that I'm talking about that has player experiences being so vastly different from one another? Well, the game mode coming in 2026 is basically a permanent leagues. If you've played through Trailblazer or Raging Echoes, you're familiar with these. You unlock areas using points, and you have tasks assigned to you to gain more points. Well, this is coming as a permanent feature with this new game mode, and it's a lot of work to make, okay? Because we're doing all the tasks from scratch. This is also an area restricting game mode. You will gradually unlock more and more of the map, but you won't do so in giant sections like you do with leagues, how you would unlock all of Asgarnia or all of Mistlin or something. You gradually unlock more of the map by unlocking individual chunks. And if you don't know what chunks are by this point, you have a lot of series to catch up on. And now, I know a lot of people don't like the idea of chunk accounts, but just hang in there with me. Chunk accounts are frowned upon a lot of the time because of the ridiculous grinds that they require players to put in order to progress the chunk account. This game mode is not like that. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, what is the basic core gameplay loop? So let's use an example. You start off in the Lumbridge chunk, and in the Lumbridge chunk, and this is true, there are potentially 12 tasks that can be assigned to you. Now these tasks have different weightings like Slayer assignments do. Some might be very heavy, you're more likely to get them, and some might be lighter and you're not so likely to get them. But the important part is that there are 12 possible tasks to get, and there is a high level of variance between them. Tasks also range in difficulty. Some might be easy and some might be harder. Imagine you spawn in Lumbridge and the first task you get is to chop a yew tree. That's not easy. However, rest assured, instead of getting all 12 tasks assigned to you, you will only be assigned 4 to 5 random ones. So out of 12, you're only getting 4 or 5. And these tasks assign points to you whenever you complete them. So chopping a yew tree, I mean, that's going to give you a lot more points than just pickpocketing a man, right? One is much harder to do than the other, and so one gives more rewards than the other. And those rewards, like I said, are points. Points can be used to unlock more of the map. Now, chunks, adjacent chunks to you, are going to cost points. You can unlock adjacent chunks that are available to you at any time you want, provided you have enough points to buy them. And how do you get more points? Well, you do more tasks, and every single time you unlock a chunk, there's 12 possible tasks that you can get. You'll get assigned 4 to 5. Those tasks will give you points, and then you can unlock more chunks. And the gameplay loop repeats itself. However, there are a couple curveballs thrown in. Now, with this in mind, you might think, okay, well, what if I roll a chunk, or what if I purchase a chunk, one north of Lumbridge after doing a couple Lumbridge tasks? Let's say, I did a task for a point, and to purchase the chunk above Lumbridge, it also costs 1 point. Well, what kind of tasks am I going to get in this new chunk that I just unlocked? And the answer is that you're going to get tasks that immediately relate to the chunk that you unlock. So north of Lumbridge, there's a bunch of sheep, there are goblins, there's a general store. So you might have really simple things like kill a couple goblins, shear some sheep, do X, Y, or Z. Stuff that really pertains to that chunk. Occasionally, you will have to do things that require other additional chunks, but they'll always be kind of like in the immediate vicinity / area. So, for instance, Draenor is split up into a North Draenor and a South Draenor when it comes to chunks. You would need both of them to do the entire Draenor rooftop agility course. So, if you roll one of these chunks, or I keep saying, but if you buy one of these chunks, you might get the task saying, hey, you need to do a lap of the rooftop agility course for Draenor. That means that you'd have to purchase another chunk in order to be able to complete that task. So this really allows you to customize the type of journey that you're going to have. Whenever you're going to purchase a chunk, you need to think to yourself, okay, what is in that chunk and do I want to do the stuff that is in that chunk? You might have bought a lot of chunks and now we're in the desert and you see that one of the chunks that you can unlock by purchasing it is the Cowfight Queen entrance. Well, you might want to double think about unlocking that because that chunk is probably going to have a lot to do with the Cowfight Queen, and if you're not at an appropriate level, maybe don't purchase it. Okay, well that sounds well and great, but there is a chance that I could get soft locked, right? Like what if I decided to just go in a straight line away from Lumbridge? And the answer is yes. If you play irresponsibly, if you don't really calculate out what you're doing, then there is a fail state. You could potentially soft lock yourself, but we do have safety measures in place to help you get yourself unstuck. But I should add that this game mode has a leaderboard. Whenever you choose to quote unquote unstuck yourself, that will show up on the leaderboard. So people who are vying for more points than others, well, you know, there's gonna be kind of like a smudge on your name. You did kind of cheat to get past other people if you're trying to rush something or you have some sort of certain strategy. And now while having a leaderboard for a completely randomized game mode might be silly, over the course of all the chunks in the game, a lot of these points will end up evening out. And we also have extra parameters in place that give equal points across the board to everybody, because you're not just doing tasks that come from chunks. You also have 4 other different categories of tasks. So you have, and these all fall under the quote unquote like global tasks. So these can be done at any time for anybody. So you have progression tasks. So think of, okay, I hit 200 total level. Okay, well, we'll give you some points for that. Oh, I hit my first skill in level 30. All right, we'll give you some points for that. I hit a certain amount of collection logs. I got a 99. I got a pet. All right, well, cool. We will give you some points for that. You deserve that. That is overall account progression. So that is not something that you'll unlock individually or things assigned to you individually based off of chunks. So that's progression. Another one is quests. Now you might think to yourself, okay, well, I'm gonna need multiple different chunks unlocked in order to complete certain quests, and you're completely right. That's where some of the strategy comes in. If you think about early game real quick, if you're unlocking a bunch of chunks around Lumbridge or buying a bunch of chunks around Lumbridge, you might think to yourself, okay, well, I'd like to do the Rune Mysteries quest. If you want to do the Rune Mysteries quest early game, you're going to have to unlock chunks leading all the way from the Wizard's Tower all the way to Varrock. That's a lot of chunks to unlock, but you will also be given points for quests. But quests aren't really the main driving factor of your points, so don't expect to make a lot of points off of really easy quests. You'll have to figure out where you want your main source of points to come from every single time you unlock a chunk. And you'll have to see what chunks that you have available around you to see if, hey, maybe if I pick up just 1 or 2 here, I'd be able to complete a quest. Something else that we're doing that we think that will be fun are something called mystery tasks. Mystery tasks are, think of like our version of clue scrolls. A task will have an ambiguous title, think of the title ground beef, and you'll have to figure out what that task means. Now, of course, there will be a hint button because we don't want anyone to get stuck. For the purposes of just an example, ground beef could be a task like killing a cow in 1 hit. And we'll give you points for figuring that out. And our final category of tasks are legend tasks. Now, legend tasks are made for the smallest subset of players, but we feel like people who are willing enough to try a niche Iron Man chunk task progression game mode might also want some really difficult content for themselves. So these tasks will be things like do the Leviathan with no food, or do the Awakened Leviathan with no food, or something crazy. Only tasks that like the top 1% of the 1% can do. And I mean, these won't be required by any means for you to do, but they'll be there as an option and there will be a leaderboard for them. Now you might think to yourself, how are you gonna keep integrity on these leaderboards and how are you gonna keep track of these tasks? Like, am I gonna have to mark everything off individually, and am I gonna have to check my own progress and submit it, and there's gonna be all these complicated shit that I have to do? And the answer is no. You don't have to do any of that. This will all be automatic. All this will be automated for you, so you won't have to check a box and say that I've done this or that. It will all be automatically logged. Things can be really clunky when using some of the RuneLite plugins, and we want this to go so smoothly that you won't even need a tutorial to use it. However, of course, we'll provide one. So when I say that you have a 1 in 296 billion chance times 2,000 to have an identical journey to somebody else when it comes to this game mode, that's the chance that you and somebody else would have all the same tasks. And that doesn't even take into account the different pathways that everyone is going to be taking and the different strategies everyone's going to be employing. And these tasks vary widely. For instance, in the starting zone, you might get something as easy as pickpocket a man 10 times. And at the beginning, you might get something as hard as kill a man within 10 seconds. Now, progressively, as you get away from the starting zone, things will get harder and harder. And the harder tasks get, the more points they'll reward you. And the more chunks you unlock, the more expensive they'll become to unlock. So you'll really have to play smart. Also, you'll never get two identical tasks. If we ask you to chop a yew tree in one chunk, you will never get assigned chopping a yew tree in another chunk. Every single task that you get in every single chunk will be unique to you. That's the main gist. There's a lot of questions I'm sure that you might have, and there's a lot of details to iron out, but this is just something that I wanted to post because it's been on my mind a lot lately, and I've been working on it a lot lately. This is just a super jumbled together thought mess and sort of like a preliminary speaking out loud of the ideas that are going into this thing. Now, if you want to know how far along we are with it, we're probably, there's roughly 1,000-ish chunks that need to be done, and so far, we're about 1/5 of the way there. So, and we started 3 months ago, but don't worry, starting 3 months ago, it did not take us 3 months to get to this point. It took 2 months to teach me how to code because I did not know how to code before, and I learned it specifically for this. So, yeah, like I said, all the time, I'm just like dipping in and out of hobbies. This one was really scary, but now that the machine is sort of well-oiled, we can move along. I'll be doing a lot more videos about this game mode as it starts getting closer. I'll also be paying for like trailers and whatnot because I think this is going to be a huge update for the game. I'll probably set up a Patreon and whatnot for people to support if they'd like to, but I want to make it clear that it's just to make like day-to-day costs of living easier. Whether someone like donates or not, I'm definitely gonna produce this one way or another. It's not about the money. It really is a passion project. Just, support and help. It always helps. We'll also be setting up a Discord for it, but I don't know if I want to use my Discord or a new one, so I think I'm going to set up my Discord with a channel specifically for it. I'm going to go ahead and put that link in the description, and if you'd like to join my Discord and put suggestions, I'll have a suggestion area for it, and I also have a questions area for it as well if this sounds like something that interests you. I know that I'm appealing to like a really small subset of people, but I've been playing this game for like 20 years at this point, and I also have a degree in game design, so I'm trying to marry those two things together for something that I think will make for a really fun series and something that will make for a really fun game mode for the community. So it's just a little passion project, and man, just doing this sort of like casual, laid back talking about this sort of stuff is so much better. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day, and I will see you next time.